Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. I'm Christine Amin. I am the president of this club, and we're going to get started with some happy bucks. And I, in particular, am going to start. Where's my buddy? Jeff's coming up in just a second. I am going to start with my happy bucks for today. So today is my birthday. I've made it. 61 years old today. So I'm putting $61 in the kitty. But it's also my wedding anniversary. We've been married 24 years today. We got married on my birthday intentionally. So my husband only had to remember one date, not two. He's not good with dates. So I am putting in 61 for my birthday, 24 for my wedding anniversary. And here you go. So that's my happy news for today.
That is happy news. Happy birthday, happy anniversary. That's amazing. My wife would have never allowed an anniversary on her birthday because it would interrupt her happy day. But congratulations. I was instructed to go to Roger first, so I'm doing as instructed by the former prez.
Thank you. I was going to announce Christine's birthday, but you can tell we didn't coordinate this very well. Anyhow, we're all going to sing happy birthday to Christine, and the faster you sing it, the better it sounds. So let's go here. Happy birthday to you. Happy.
Thanks, Roger. And another happy birthday, Mr. Rob.
Yeah, I've got two in there today. One of them is Sonny Hander here today. Sonny, are you here? I don't see Sonny. Okay. Well, just wanted to let you know, Sonny has been awarded the what's called the Philanthropy Award for Giving by the Association of Fundraising Professionals next week in November. And so it's really kind of great because all the work he's done to help in India on a project we worked in hospice. So I wanted to thank him locally, but when you get a chance, say something. And the other one is just to let you know, on Thursday, I am flying to Nepal for a week to do a project. And so I will be gone. I'll see you the following Tuesday. So here we go.
Awesome. Amy, am I still coming to you? Okay. Susie, I haven't forgotten you. We'll be wandering over that way next. No forgetting. No, you forgot us. We had networking today and you weren't there.
So I have good news, bad news. The good news is our Rotary Club is supporting Alzheimer's research with what we're putting in the bucket today, which has helped the infusion that my mother is going to be able to receive now that she's been diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's.
Oh, Amy, our thoughts go out to you. And I need to see some more hands go up so that Amy's mom is getting the care that she needs and everybody else. Yeah. Susie.
Okay, I'll make it short and sweet. I have been missing. Life has been good. Nothing traumatic. Sorry, prayers for you. The other is Health and Happiness is coming in November. Does anybody know what that is? Nobody? Okay, you guys should come out to Health and Happiness at California Dreaming. It is for all the upstate Rotary clubs. All Rotarians come together 5 to 7, California Dreaming, November 17th. See you there.
Thanks, Susie. All right, we got a couple around the way here.
For Amy's mom.
For Amy's mom. Thank you. You got Superman. What do you got, brother?
Well, something fifth in the state. My son is a football coach in Illinois, starting the playoffs. So $5 for fifth in the state, and vote for Amy in their photographer of the year.
Best of the upstate, right, Amy? Vote Amy Randall Photography. Yeah. Who else wants to bring some sunshine to this otherwise dreary day?
I'll do a happy dollar right here, but I'm going to send a check to Jen for another $49 because my husband and I just celebrated our 50th anniversary earlier this month. And the interesting thing is one of my children was actually born on the same day. So 10 years into our 50 years. Oh, yes. Thanks, Roger. I love a little brevity here, a little humor.
Thanks, Miss Betty, and congratulations, Brad.
Hey, I'm Brad. I don't share often, but Two things happened with our family recently. My daughter is pursuing her master's at the NYU up in New York, and she had her first show up there and got connected to a lady with a fairly large magazine, national magazine subscription who liked her work. So hopefully that'll lead into some good things. And her husband, my son-in-law, who I frequently share with my friends that these are the two most likely children of mine that'll end up under a bridge one day. He was accepted to Juilliard's jazz program. So we've got a couple of folks living up in New York that are apparently doing really well, and I just wanted to share that.
At least they're not going to be on your couch. Congratulations, Brad.
Hi, since we're talking about our kids, my son finally finished the defense of his dissertation. So he has a PhD in linguistics and the other is a neuroradiologist. So my husband did good, right?
You had something to do with that, Jane, I'm sure. Congratulations. Anyone else? All right, some great happy bucks. Thanks, everybody.
We're going to move on to guests. Do I have some guests here today? I'm going to do it. So I'm making a circle. Christina?
I have two wonderful guests sitting next to me. First, it's Sylvia. I met Sylvia a few weeks ago. Her husband is working with BMW as well. And when she told me that she moved here three months ago and directly started volunteering for Harvest Hope several times a week, I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to introduce her to Rotary. Her background is high school. She's a high school teacher, and here she's a part-time volunteer. And then I have Brian here. Brian and I just met at the Discover Rotary session. He has a commercial and residential heating and air conditioning business. I'm sorry, that was tricky for me. And welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Welcome. Lisa.
Okay, today we have our monthly winners from Alexander Elementary. Here we have Madison Siekman. Madison's second grade teacher, and this is her 4th year in education. And here we have Ray Abreu, the staff member of the month, and Ray is the parent involvement coordinator and has been in education for 5 years.
We always love having our Alexander Elementary School folks here. Brian.
We have with us today Gordon Sherrod. Gordon was a former Rotarian back in the 70s, and we're going to try to get him stirred back up again.
Sorry. Okay, Jay, thank you.
Hey, everyone. We have Randall Fowler here. He's at TD Bank. I'm sure many of you probably know him. He's very involved in the Greenville community, and we hope he very much joins our club.
Thank you, Jay. Anybody at this table? Any guests here? Any guests here? I'm driving Tom, the cameraman, crazy. Okay. Well, welcome guests. We hope you have a meaningful experience with us and come back and join us. Let's see. On to the positive thought for the day. Go for it. Do the thing you've been dreaming of, thinking about, or pining over. Follow your intuition and not your fears. Stop talking yourself out of whatever you've been hoping for. You are as ready as you'll ever be, and procrastinating won't make you more ready later. Make the leap now. And if you'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we move on, everybody get their phones out so that they have access to their calendars. And let me make a few announcements. So our next meeting will be our Veterans Day luncheon. So I'd like to see all veterans here. On November 19th, Alexander Elementary School treat drop-off at 9:30, and we're going to be packing food boxes at 3 o'clock. If anybody's ever done that, it's actually a lot of fun. It goes really fast, so don't think that you're going to be there all afternoon. It goes really quickly. Our next coffee and conversation is on November 20th. November 21st is the holiday fair build starting at 1 o'clock at Caldwell Construction. Again, that is a ton of fun. It is really fun, especially if you love working with your hands. We always have a good time doing that. November 22nd is the North Main Park cleanup starting at 9 a.m. And then November 25th, is that a networking group meeting? November 25th, Jeff? Okay, awesome. So that meeting, November 25th, that's the week of Thanksgiving. So the networking group will meet at 10:30. We have Discover Rotary at 11 and then our meeting at noon. So invite a friend to Discover Rotary. Okay, we will move on with the agenda.
So as they're coming up, what we're doing today is we're going to talk about a thing I've been doing for a long time, and that is a fundraising for our club, because we have to make the money to be able to do all the wonderful things we're doing. So this year, if you're not aware, some of you are new to the club and aren't aware that we're doing Holiday Fair, which has been going on in Greenville for over 50 years, and they've decided instead of make it complicated, they're just going to tell the whole world that it's benefiting the Rotary Club of Greenville. So the great news this year, in all their marketing, everywhere you see it, it's going to say Holiday Fair and the cute little tag benefiting the Rotary Club of Greenville. So I'm very excited about that. So we have all these wonderful people who are going to give you a little heads up about their particular area. I would ask, if you are working on one of these committees, if you would just quickly stand as this person comes up, because I want everybody to see how many people we got working already and how many more to go. So we'll give you a quick blurb, and then we want to make sure that you as club members, if you have any questions about this, if there's something you're not clear about, then we'll take questions at the end.
Hello, my name is Laura Nicholas. I'm on the silent auction committee for Rotary this year, and we're very excited. We have a list of about 85 items that we came up with as a committee, and we're pursuing those 85 items. We have about 60 confirmed, and we're working on more. So if you have any ideas, or if you have something laying around your house that's valuable, now we don't want just, your sock collection or something. This has got to be at least $100 value for each item. That's our goal. And we'll take more than that. But if you have something laying around your house that's valuable that you want to donate, we've had at this point, we've had some art pieces donated by artists who we're going to auction those off. We've also had experiences donated, like a 90-minute couples massage. You could do, if you're a member of a country club, for instance, you might donate a country club experience, maybe a golf game or something. So think about what it is that you have connections to, and then help us raise some money for Rotary. The idea here is that these items are donated, and then people spend money on them as they bid on them, and then that money goes directly to Rotary and Rotary charities. So it's a good cause. Please help us if you can. If you have something, if you have an idea.
About 5 weeks out, believe it or not, December is going to be before you know it. And we have met our goal of pledges of $35,000. But that doesn't mean that if you were thinking about it, now's not the time to do it. We take whatever we can, because as we said, we thank all of our sponsors very, very much. But the reason, just to give you an idea, is we've tried to partner and do a lot of the stuff ourselves for the convention center. And this year they said, how about if we take on all the things that cost y'all a lot of money? Yes, we like that. And then we'll give you basically a platform to raise money for your charities. So as you've heard, we're having the sponsorships, of course, is one of our biggest. We're having the brunch. We have the Jingle Jangle Cash. We have the silent auction. All of those will raise money for our charities. But like any great thing, any of these things, unless people know about it, and the event itself, we get $1 for every ticket. So if we don't help spread the word, then there's going to be this great event that not so many people know about. So for me to give you a little more details, they were saying where Santa Claus is. Last year we were a little out of the way, but this year we are at the end of the whole thicket. So when you walk into the textile hall, they don't call that anymore. When you walk into the convention center and look right, all the way to the end, our wonderful creative ops people are building it'll look like a mountain, and then Santa is going to be sitting on a sleigh. So the kids will get to come sit by Santa, tell them what they want for Christmas. I think it's going to be very unique and exciting. And our idea of the snowball fight has quadrupled in size, and it'll be for older kids. Probably, I think it's like 7 and above will be in there. And last year we had little teeny tiny babies in there throwing little balls, so they have their own special place. And then we're having the biggest North and South Carolina model railroad display. So if you're not interested in all that kiddie stuff, we have something for you to also, and then over the 400 booths. And I just want to let you know that the convention center has been very generous and been great with us this year. And in fact, they're throwing in a Rotary awareness booth so that we, as the Rotary Club of Greenville, will be able to publicize to anybody and everybody that's interested the great things that we do. So I would like to say great to all these folks. I would also like to say thanks, of course, to Jenny, who's always doing a million things for us. To Lisa Minnick, who is our finance person. And I think together we've come up with an easy way to do this, which is remarkable, thanks to technology. And then to Heather Hayes, who has already agreed. I know y'all are going to cry over this, but I am honestly retiring after this year. I think I've been doing fundraising for 7 years for the club. So Heather has already stood up and said that she would take on as a co-chair. And if anybody else would like to help her out, then let me know afterwards. It's kind of a big job, but you work with obviously wonderful people, and you do it for the reason we have Rotary, to help other people. So thank you. Oh, questions. So now I'll take questions. If anybody has any question, you're new to this and you're just wondering how it works or anything, I'm glad to.
Good afternoon, Rotary Club of Greenville. I want to give you a quick update on our foundation giving this year. This past Friday, we had a fabulous foundation banquet where we celebrate a remarkable accomplishment for this district. And Beth will know the exact number, but over 2 million given from our district this past Rotary year in support of the foundation, in support of eradicating polio, in support of clean water, and all the other good work that the foundation does. And we want to take a moment today to recognize those who have reached Paul Harris status or Paul Harris Plus status. Those of you who have been in Rotary for a while know that recognizes someone who has given $1,000 at the basic Paul Harris level or Paul Harris Plus beyond that, and either a combination of money or points. And we hope to be announcing soon matching points for your dollars, probably in November and December. So encourage you to get to Paul Harris or Paul Harris Plus status. But as I call these names, please join me and our district foundation chair, Beth Paget, at the podium. And then we'll hold your applause, but we'll gather everybody up here. So first off, Paul Harris Plus, Paul Harris, Christina Weiland, come on up. Yeah.
Certificate also.
Oh, okay. There you go. And Caroline Stewart at Paul Harris Plus 2. Is Caroline? I don't think I saw her. Okay.
She's so beautiful.
Ryan Childers at Paul Harris Plus 3. Brian Little at Paul Harris Plus 4. I saw Brian. Wade Culp at Paul Harris Plus 6. Congratulations to Wade. And Roger Heitzig at Paul Harris Plus 6 as well.
And also Roger is being recognized as our newest district member of the Paul Harris Society, where he has pledged to give $1,000 a year. The chevron is in the mail, should be here soon. That we'll give you that, Roger. But I just wanted to say that is a great way to give in a high impact way to the foundation. Thank you.
I do have one other very important announcement that recognizes a remarkable person for a remarkable accomplishment. At the foundation banquet on Friday night, we had another member of our club inducted into Rotary's most prestigious giving level, which is the Arch Clump Society. It recognizes a remarkable accomplishment of giving over one's lifetime. And this individual, I can think of few others. She is the heart blood of this club. She gives so much in so many ways. She is a past president of this club, a past district governor. She leads our district's foundation effort. She is really our lifeblood. And I know we have a rule in Rotary about giving standing ovations to the district governor, but I would also ask you to give a standing ovation in recognition of Beth Paget.
I have the honor to introduce our speaker. So I want to tell you a little story. So my wife says to me one day, I started reading this really fun stories. I think you're going to like it. And that began a journey into the world of Max Porter and his wife and ghosts and witches. And I have enjoyed so much of it. And he will also share with you as he talks about how he ties in the history of North Carolina into his stories. So let me give a little bit background about Stuart. Besides being an author, he's also a member of a local blues group called the Bootlickers. That's pretty good. He's a martial artist, studied Taekwondo for many years, a black belt. And if you read his Nathan K series, you can see that where that comes in. It's another one I'm in the middle of right now. Lives in a farm outside of Winston-Salem and has chickens. But the thing I'll say to you is once you hear him, think about this is a great time to buy some holiday gifts for some people. So he has his books there for you of all his different series, but I think you'll enjoy hearing from him and you'll see why I got turned on so much. So Stuart, please.
Thank you for inviting me. I'd like to thank all of you for showing up, the Rotary Club as a whole for having me here, and of course, Rob for making this happen. I've been an author for over 30 years. I'm the author of over 70 novels. So if you like what I have to say and you try my books and you like them, you got an author that'll last you for a long time, which is really nice. But I'm mostly here to talk about Max Porter. And I'll just get right into how we got Max Porter to even exist, and then I'll tell you more as we go on. Max Porter happened because my wife and I moved down to Winston-Salem so she could do her master's in biology, and she was being paid by the school to teach at the same time. So she spent a lot of time at the university. And that meant I spent a lot of time at the university library waiting to pick her up and take her home and meet her for lunch and things like that. During that time, about a year into it, I realized I knew very little about the place I was living in. And I'm in a library, so I might as well start looking things up. And I stumbled upon this really bizarre story about World War II. And at the time, I was in my World War II phase. I'd read everything by Stephen Ambrose and knew all about it, and I thought I knew all about it. But I learned that during World War II, the soldiers, who were young men, were smoking cigarettes by the ton. They just could not smoke them fast enough. They had really discovered how that helps them cope and survive. And so we were having problems supplying it to them. So the President of the United States called up R.J. Reynolds Tobacco, talked to R.J. Reynolds, and said to him, we need more cigarettes. And he said back, I could run 24/7, I just don't have the manpower. So he said, I can solve that problem for you. And we then shipped in German POWs from Germany all the way across the waters. And we set up about 18 to 20 camps throughout the state, little ones that had about 18 to 20 soldiers in it. And at night, we'd bust them all into Winston-Salem and make them work. And in the morning, they'd be gone before anybody really knew what was going on. And my brain just went, what? I'd never heard anything about German POWs being on American soil during the war, let alone being in forced labor camps. But it happened. And that and my writer brain immediately said, well, there's got to be something I can do with that. And at the time, I was a struggling writer and trying to break into the fantasy and science fiction realm, and it wasn't going very well. And my wife was like, well, you always loved mysteries. Why don't you just change gears and write a mystery. And I thought, that's a great idea. I'll write a mystery. I'll use some of this history to put into it. And as I start writing this character of Max and his wife who moved down to Winston-Salem, where I got that, and suddenly this ghost appears. And that's when I learned that I can't write anything without throwing in some kind of fantasy or science fiction element. And that's what started it. So the actual original concept of the series is that Max and his wife moved down to Winston, and they quickly discover that his office is haunted by the ghost of a 1940s detective. So they do what anyone in that situation would do, and they start a detective agency with a ghost, because really, what else can you do? And so every book, I take real history of the area, usually odd, strange history that I find, and I mix it with witches and ghosts and curses and magic. One of the reasons that we're here talking about this series as opposed to some of the other series I have is that while there are statistically at least 20%, if not half of you, like science fiction and fantasy and will love a lot of the weirder stuff I write, this series has been described by many people as a gateway drug, because there are many, many, many of my fans who have never read fantasy before in their lives. They came to it because it's a mystery, and the fantasy elements are not as crazy as you will find in other things. We're not talking Lord of the Rings and monsters and demons. We've got ghosts and witches and things that we are all somewhat at least familiar with the concepts of. And it takes place here in the real world, and everything else is real. So it's even if you're not comfortable or used to those kinds of elements of fantasy, you'll find these books a lot more grounded, especially because they use real history. Also, quick side note, over the years that the first book in this series came out in 2012. So over the last 13 years, I've come up and I've talked about that original World War II story twice. I've had people come up to me who not only knew about it, but I had a gentleman from Texas who said they did the same thing in Texas for whatever industry probably cattle. And they also did it, I believe, in Missouri. And there are some other states that I suspect have done it as well. So there were a lot more German POWs than any of us ever knew about. So I want to take some time to highlight some of the other historical things I found and some of the stories behind it, because that's fun, and it's part of the fun of all this. And some of them are darker stories, and some of them are fun, and we'll see how many we get through. And also, statistically, 90 to 99% of you have thought about writing a book if you haven't actually tried yet. So I do want to leave a little time for some Q&A if you want to ask about what I write or the business side of writing or how to make a career out of it. But fun, weird history that I get to use for this. I'll start off with one of the more gruesome ones, is it's also a somewhat famous one. It's called the Lawson Family Murders. And I say it's somewhat famous. There are books written about it. There's been TV shows, documentaries about this. It took place in the 1920s. The Lawson family lived on a farm in the northwest part of Winston-Salem. And Charlie Lawson had, I think it was 7 children, not uncommon at that time, especially for a farm family. Their eldest was a 18-year-old girl, there was a 17-year-old boy, a bunch of little ones in between, and then at the end you had twin babies. And in the mid-1920s, the night on Christmas, what would be Christmas Eve, but during that day, he got the whole family up. They weren't expecting this. He says, everybody get dressed in your finest. They put on all their fine clothes. They got in their horse and carriage and went into town, which is all by horse and carriage is a long thing. You don't do that just on a whim to pick up some milk. They got there. He then spent what for them was a lot of money to have a family portrait done. And one of the neat things I get to do in my job is I get to find a copy of that picture and look at it so I can describe the characters and realize it is one of the creepiest photos, especially when you know what he's about to do. And I'm sure you can all guess from the title, it's not going to go well. It is a very dark, freaky picture. But they took this picture, they went home, and then the next morning on Christmas, he killed all of them. And he started in the barn where the little kids were, the toddlers were milking the cows. He took out a shotgun, killed all of them. And then the mother and the eldest daughter and some of the other kids were in the kitchen getting things ready. They're like, what's going on? And I forgot an important detail. The eldest son, who's 17, before he did all this, Charlie sent his son to the neighbors to get something, an excuse to get him out of the house, because he really was the only one that could stop him. And anyway, he went in, killed everybody, including the babies. And then his son was at this neighbor's house, heard all these shotgun shots, which in such succession and coming from the direction, he on Christmas Day seemed kind of weird. And he thought maybe someone's robbing the place. So he goes running off to help his dad, and he sees what's happened, is traumatized by it, can't find his father. The police are called, obviously, and a huge manhunt ensues. And it lasts almost all day. By the time the sun is setting, they find him not that far from the house by a creek, and he's just wandering in circles, muttering, and there's a standoff, and he takes his own life. So it's an ugly, horrible story. But for a writer, it is such fodder, because nobody really knows why he did this. There's only suspicions. And that kind of thing is what I look for in a piece of history, is some kind of hole that I can throw in and say, there's magic there. There's a witch's curse. Because reality is usually not as exciting. Although I do put at the end of each book, I put an afterword where I talk about the reality and what people think about what may have happened. So in this case, about 2 or 3 weeks before all this happened, he was chopping wood, and there was an accident where he ended up getting clonked on the head by the axe handle, and has suffered severe head trauma. And people think that probably created some kind of brain damage that led to this. Other people thought he was making deals with the devil, and that this was some kind of satanic thing, although that's more urban legend, I think, than anything else as far as evidence you could find for that. On a lighter story, one of my favorites to share is that also weirdly in the 1920s, a lot of weird stuff happened in the 20s. But in the 1920s, there was a woman who was arrested for shoplifting a hat. And she could have just paid a fine and been done with it. But she was very obstinate, just really digging in her heels, demanding a trial or for the thing to be thrown out. She was not going to pay any fine or anything. So they go to this trial. And in the early opening remarks, she makes sure that certain key phrases were said that made it very clear to anybody who can read between the lines that she and her sister, who she lived with, they were using their house to run a brothel. But not just any brothel. This became a Heidi Fleiss situation because this brothel was frequented by the mayor, the chief of police, the chief of the fire department, and several other high officials. And the press, who could read between the lines, got hold of this, and it became this week-long big scandal, and including death threats. She eventually just goes missing without her sister, I think, if I recall right. This is going back many years when I did this research. And that's again, and then the story itself, unfortunately, just kind of peters out. Great again for me. Where I get to add to this story for y'all, one of my favorite aspects about this is because I live nearby. I now live in Thomasville, which is just one town over. But especially when I was living there, I would take a day trip and go to these places so I can see them, I can smell them, I can hear what's going on, and really bring them to life. And so this house is only about 5 minutes from where I lived. So I drove up there, parked next to it. There's a big retaining wall, and there's a house, and on a lovely little suburban street. And I've got my notebook and writing down notes on what the place looks like, what the other houses look like. I must have been there for at least a half hour or so. Never occurred to me that this would be strange, but it occurred to one of the neighbors, and they called. Thankfully, they didn't call the police. They called the person who lives in this house and said, somebody might be casing your house. Something weird is going on. And the lady who lives in the house also thankfully did not call the police. But she is very brave. She came out, and I'm sitting here doing what I'm doing. I look up and I see this woman approaching in the mirror, and I'm like, and then I thought, oh yeah, this probably looks strange. So I bring down my window, and she comes over and she goes, excuse me, can I help you? And very, very rough. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm a writer, and there's a strange story about your house, and you probably don't know this, and she looks at me and she goes, oh, you mean the brothel? And I'm like, yeah. And so we share a couple more words, and then she says, do you want to come in and see? And that's my first experience learning that the writer card can open doors. You would be shocked. Just saying you're a writer, people suddenly are like, I want to talk to you. They're happy to. I've gotten into all kinds of places I should have no right being into just by saying, I'm a writer and I'm writing about this. And so I got to go into her house, look throughout the whole house, and she'd be like, here's my living room. This was originally like the greeting room for the ladies and the different bedrooms. And then I got to see the backyard, which had a detached garage still from the 1920s and all these cool things that I get to put in the book. And the best part as a writer is she then says, I asked, there's a door. I'm like, what's there? She goes, well, that just goes down in the basement. I'm like, do you mind if I look there? And she's like, well, go ahead. And she's like, there's nothing down there. I go down, and it is a unfinished dirt basement, creepiest thing, and perfect for writing spooky little ghosty kind of stories. So I know we're limited time, so I could go on and on. I'm writing the 20th book right now, and you would think after each book has at least 2, sometimes 3 or 4 little bits of history in it, you'd think I'd run out. I won't. I don't think I ever will, especially because they come in the weirdest times. And this current book I'm working on right now started a few months ago. My wife and I were driving, and the radio was on, the news was on, and our local NPR station has a thing called Carolina Curious, where people write in, why do we do this in North Carolina, and so on, and they answer the questions. And my wife and I are talking, not listening, and I just half hear the question is there really a bunch of secret tunnels underneath the city? And my brain goes, what? Secret tunnel? And sure enough, not only are there secret tunnels, but there's secret tunnels that some of which were designed by R.J. Reynolds to travel gold coins from Wachovia all the way to where they would be delivered and handed out to employees as like for Christmas, just a gold coin for everybody. Sometimes they were just mine carts full of cash to be for the payroll. And if you don't think I can't use that, you're crazy. The last one I want to share with you, again, just to show you how weird North Carolina is, but honestly, South Carolina is just as weird, and so is every state. It is amazing how many weird stories that have factual basis, let alone the urban legends we all have. But one of them is the story of Kerner's Folly, which, again, on the surface is bizarre, but ultimately it's just what it is. It's not that thrilling, but it's really cool nonetheless. And Kerner's Folly is a building. It's a house. There's a town next to Winston called Kernersville, named after Mr. Kerner, and Kerner's Folly is the name of his house. It is, I want to say 7 floors, including the basement and attic, but it's hard to explain how many floors it is, which you'll understand in a moment, because I went there. You can take tours of this place, and no 2 rooms look alike. No 2 doors look alike. The moldings are all different over every door. There's no continuity between anything. There are staircases that just go to nowhere. And then there's even a half floor that he designed that was the perfect scaled to his children so that they wouldn't have to live in these 9 and 10 foot story high ceilings. This one, I mean, I'm a short guy, and even I had to kind of hunch over to go through this floor. There is a very freaky group of collection of marionettes, one of each of the family members. And then at the very top, there is a attic that was converted into the first private theater in all of the United States. And that theater also has a complete replica of the house that was like a dollhouse. Very weird. Now, that stuff again, great fodder for me. And not only that, the day I went to go look at it, the Paranormal Society in North Carolina had declared the house, and particularly the attic, as haunted. So I was happy as can be. The truth, like I said, is never as fun as fiction. The truth is simply that Mr. Kerner was essentially an interior designer, and he turned his entire house into a showcase. So if you came and you wanted to pick out doors for your house, you could see all the different doors there were, because they were all hung there, and all the different moldings, the different banisters, everything. And so he created staircases to go nowhere just to show off the stairs. And it's still there today. And like I said, you can go and check it out. It's pretty wild. I know we're kind of short on time. So if any of you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if y'all just want to eat your dessert and move on, I can answer questions over there when where my books are. Yes. It's where my passion is. I've always loved, I'm ex-gen, as many of you are, which means I saw the original Star Wars, right? I was like 8, I think, when that came out, and it blew my mind. And, that probably had a lot to do with it. And growing up with Star Trek and the Twilight Zone. And I was always just enamored originally with science fiction. And when the first part of my career was writing science fiction short stories and that kind of thing, trying to get into the big magazines and build a career that way. The problem with science fiction is it helps to know science. And the top science fiction authors are actual physicists. And one guy I know really well, Les Johnson, worked until recently worked for NASA for years and years. And he developed, if you've ever heard of solar sails, he actually is the guy who created them. These are my competition in a lot of that. So I started gravitating towards fantasy, because fantasy, there's the only rule is that you have to, you as a writer, establish what the rules are, and you better follow your own rules. Because if you break your own rules, readers don't like that. But as long as I say, this is how it's going to work, and I go by that, then it makes it much easier. But like I said, I tried to write this originally as a straight thing, and this ghost just shows how my brain works, and it's not worth fighting against it. So a lot of people want to know, like, can you get it to Netflix? That's like, should not even be on your mind as an author, because the likelihood of it even happening is next to impossible, unless you happen to be really good friends with somebody like Steven Spielberg. And even then, it's going to be really hard. This was spent about 2 years. A production company came out of nowhere. They approached me, which is usually how it happens especially as an indie author. And they were looking exactly for what I was writing. They were looking for something that took place in the South, that was a ghost detective, urban fantasy kind of thing. One of their people happened to be reading Max Porter at the time and said, we should check out this. They contacted me, and for 2 years they tried to get it made, and it came very, very close to getting made several times. It's so hard to thread that needle, but I was happy to take their money and enjoy. I mean, it was, there's a well-known author from North Carolina, Orson Scott Card. He wrote Ender's Game, which eventually was made into a movie with Harrison Ford. It took 20, 30 years for that to get made. And I remember being at a convention with him, and he was saying, I kind of hope it will never get made, because he gets a check every year so that the option keeps going. Whereas mine lasted 2 years, and they're like, well, we're going to move on to something else. So Netflix and all that is just, if it happens, great. But for everyone you see happening, there are thousands of books that would make great shows that are just never get through that. Robert here is trying real hard to make that happen. And I know after we're done here, he's going to take me around to some of the spooky areas. It's possible I still haven't even gotten down to Charlotte yet, but I did in the last book. There was a scene in Rock Hill, a covert meeting in Rock Hill. So I've at least dipped my toe over here. I don't know about Greenville though, but thank you all very much. And I'll be back there. I can happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you very much, Stuart. As a gift to our speaker, he has signed our book that's going to go to Alexander Elementary, and I'm going to give it to one of the teachers back there. And just very coincidental, my stepbrother lives in Kernersville. Very odd. So if we could all stand for the five-way test, sorry, of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun? Thank you.